Good day, nurses. Now let's discuss the coronary artery disease. So when we say CAD, it's a condition in which the coronary arteries that supplies blood to the heart muscles become narrow or blocked due to the atherosclerosis. So pag sinabi nating atherosclerosis class, meron dong fat deposition. Fat deposition. Okay, may fat deposition doon sa doon sa lumen ng artery or ng coronary artery. So for example, this is the coronary artery, yan yung butas niya. Dito sa lumen, okay, dito sa coronary artery natin, sa butas natin, merong taba na bumara. May fat accumulation. Okay, kaya pag nagkaroon ng fat accumulation, nagkakaroon ng narrowing or pagsikip ng butas. Okay, which result to decreased blood flow and decreased oxygen supply. So let's proceed to your atherosclerosis. Okay, pag sinabi nating atherosclerosis, sorry, this is arterio. Okay, so we have the arteriosclerosis. When we say arterio, it means artery. And when we say sclerosis, this is hardening. So, it means that arteriosclerosis, there's hardening, thickening, and loss of elasticity. Remember, ang ating mga blood vessels, ang arteries natin, okay, may characteristics sila yan na mag-constrict at mag-dilate. So ngayon, nagko-compensate sila yan depende doon sa pressure. Pag masyadong mataas yung pressure, ang gagawin nila magdadilate sila to maintain blood pressure. Kapag once naman na mababa ang pressure, ang BP natin, magko-constrict sila yan para ma-maintain yung normal pressure at tumaas. Okay? Ganyan ang characteristic ng ating arteries or ng ating mga blood vessels. But in the case of your arteriosclerosis, may hardening, may thickening, and may loss of elasticity. Bakit? Because of injury. Okay, nagkakaroon ng damage doon sa ating artery. And mamaya, malalaman natin what are the possible causes. So, we have risk factors. Okay, we have the non-modifiable and the modifiable risk factors. Under your non-modifiable, usually hereditary yan. Then, yung age niya, usually ito ay nasa 50 to 55 and above. And then, pag gender, usually, most common dito, lalaki because of the vices. Okay, next your modifiable, smoking, hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes mellitus, obesity, stress, and physical inactivity. These are the contributory factors kung bakit nagkakaroon ng arteriosclerosis. And we have 3 common causes. Okay, so we have 3 common causes kung bakit nagkakaroon ng arteriosclerosis. First, we have the smoking, the cigarette smoking. Second one, the hypertension. And the third one, the diabetes mellitus. Proceed tayo kay smoking natin. Okay, kapag nag-i-smoke tayo, especially kapag yan ay cigarette smoking, si cigarette smoking ay may content na nicotine. Si nicotine natin class ay mako-convert yan into carbon monoxide kapag yan ay nasunog. This carbon monoxide causing vasoconstriction. Kapag may vasoconstriction, nag-i-increase yung blood pressure natin. Kapag nag-increase yung blood pressure natin, nagkakaroon ng injury doon sa lining ng ating blood vessels. Bakit siya nagkakaroon ng injury? Balikan natin yung anatomical structure ng ating blood vessels. Si blood vessels natin, meron tayong 3 major layer. Okay, may 3 major layer tayo. Yung pinaka-outer part natin, itong portion natin, that is your tinatawag natin na tunica adventitia. Okay, your tunica adventitia. Or tunica externa. Pero usually adventitia ang tawag dyan. Adventitia. Okay, next, the middle layer, this one, this color pink, that is tunica media. This is made up of muscle. Kaya nga may kakayahan mag-constrict at mag-dilate ang ating blood vessels because of the muscle layer. Okay? The next natin, your tunica intima, the innermost layer. Ito naman si tunica intima natin. And this one, this portion, these are your epithelial or the endothelium layer. Okay, your endothelium layer is made up of epithelial cells. Okay, it's made up of epithelial cells. Sa epithelial cells natin, smooth lang yan. Okay, smooth lang ang characteristic niyan. Kaya kapag once na dumadaan ang mataas na pressure, yung pressure na yan can cause damage sa may epithelium layer natin. Okay? Pag once na nagkaroon ng damage, remember yung ating hose, di ba? Yun yung example natin before, na kapag once na tinakpan mo yung dulo ng hose, malabas or malakas yung pressure na lumalabas. And pag once na tinututok natin yan sa ating mga kalaro, kapag kasabayan natin sila maligo dati, ang nangyayari, natatakot sila. Bakit? May sakit kasi kapag once na tumama sa yung tubig na lumabas doon sa hose na tinakpan mo. Kasi nga, mataas yung pressure. Ganun din sa ating blood vessel. Dahil nagkaroon ng blockage, nagkaroon ng pagskip, ang tendency, lumalakas ang pressure ng blood dito sa loob ng blood vessels natin. At kapag once na malakas yung pressure, hindi nakakayanan ng ating epithelial. Bakit? Sila ay soft lang. Okay, sila ay soft lang kaya sila ay nasisira. At kapag once na nasira sila, dyan na nag-i-start yung injury sa ating blood vessels. Okay, nagkakaroon na ng injury. This injury class, remember, ang ating katawan, may kakayahang mag-compensate yan. May kakayahan siyang mag-adjust. Ayaw niya na may imbalance. Kailangan na ma-maintain si homeostasis. Okay? So ngayon, pag nagkaroon ng injury, hindi hahayaan ng ating katawan na masira na lamang siya. Kaya ang gagawin niya, kailangan niyang gumawa ng paraan. Kailangan niyang mag-compensate para itong injury ay malutasan. Ang gagawin ng ating katawan ay magde-deposit siya ng collagen and smooth muscle cell to repair the injured site. Okay, so it means magkakaroon ng deposition ng collagen doon sa may injury site natin and smooth muscle. So ngayon class, kung dadami, okay, kung dadami ang injured, okay, kung dadami ang muscles, okay, balik tayo dito. For example, this portion, okay, this portion nagkaroon ng injury. Okay? Nagkaroon ng injury dito sa portion na ito. Okay? So, ang gagawin ng ating katawan, dahil gusto niya normal lahat, ayaw niyang masira, magpapadala siya ng mga smooth muscle cells and collagen dito sa may site ng injury. Kapag once na itong collagen, okay, itong smooth muscle cell ay pupunta dito sa may injured site, remember, ang mga smooth muscles natin ay macros. Okay, malalaki sila in nature. So kapag once na nagkaroon ng depositions ng smooth muscle dito sa may injured site natin, ang tendency magkakaroon ng thickening. Kakapal ngayon yung blood vessels natin. And dagdagan mo pa, magkakaroon pa daw ng collagen deposition. Si collagen natin, siya yung dahilan kung bakit titigas ang lining ng ating blood vessels. Kaya magkakaroon tayo ng wall thickening na tinatawag, which is isa siya sa mga characteristic ng arteriosclerosis. May hardening, or may thickening, I should say. Dahil may collagen, magkakaroon ng hardening pagtigas. That is your smoking. Next, punta tayo sa hypertension natin. Pag sinabi nating hypertension, gaya na lamang din sa smoking. Nagkaroon ng vasoconstriction, nagkaroon ng hypertension or increased blood pressure. This increased blood pressure class can cause damage or injury to the lining of our blood vessels. Ngayon, pag nagkaroon ng injury, okay, cause tiny tears in the endothelium. In short, nagkaroon ng injury. Okay, nagkaroon ng injury. Sabi natin, ayaw ng ating katawan na magkaroon ng injury. Kaya gagawa siya ng paraan. Magkakaroon ng deposition ng collagen and smooth muscle cell to repair. That will result to thickening. At kapag patuloy na nagkakaroon ng thickening dun sa ating blood vessels or sa injured site natin, that can lead to fibrosis. Okay, nagle-lead yun sa fibrosis, ibig sabihin nagkakaroon ng scarring. Okay, this scarring can cause stiff wall. Okay, nagkakaroon daw ng pagtigas ng wall ng ating artery. That is hypertension. Next, your diabetes mellitus. Pag sinabi nating diabetes mellitus, may excess glucose in the blood. This excess glucose class attaches, okay, protein in the vessel's wall. Sa ating blood vessel, dun sa may endothelial layer, may mga protein diyan. Kapag once na nagkaroon ng attachment ng glucose doon sa protein, this will produce your age or your advanced glycation end product. Okay, maproproduce siya. At ang problem natin, itong age na to, siya yung dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng stiffness and make our blood vessels brittle. Ibig sabihin, mabilis na lamang siyang masira. Okay? So, yan yung dahilan or these are the 3 common causes kung bakit nagkakaroon ng arteriosclerosis. Usually, class, kapag once na coronary artery disease yan, usually sila ay asymptomatic, no manifestations. Okay, now proceed tayo sa atherosclerosis. Balikan natin lahat. Nung blood vessels natin dun sa arteryo, nagkaroon ng injury. Okay, in short, nagkaroon lang ng injury. Ngayon, dun sa injured site natin, okay, sa injured site natin, okay, for example, nagkaroon ng injury, okay, may injured site, ito yung injured site natin, okay. So, ngayon, class, dito naman sa atherosclerosis natin, ang pinagkaiba niya sa arteryo, parehas silang may hardening, thickening, and loss of elasticity. But in the case of athero, meron na siyang fat deposition. Okay, may fat deposition na kapag atherosclerosis. Okay, so balik tayo, nagkaroon ng injury because of pressure, smoking, and diabetes mellitus. Ngayon, sa injury natin, isa sa mga idadagdag natin na risk factor kung bakit nagkakaroon ng athero, same lang, DM, smoking, and hypertension. But here, dadagdagan natin yung high cholesterol. Okay, high cholesterol. Isa sa mga risk factor yan ng ating atherosclerosis. Okay, balik tayo, nagkaroon ng injury. So ngayon yung injury natin, meron na tayong portal of entry. Okay, ang problem natin, meron tayong high cholesterol level in the blood. Okay, specifically your LDL or the low density lipoprotein or the bad cholesterol. Okay, this is your bad cholesterol. Ang problema natin, class, dahil masyadong madami, okay, ang LDL doon sa blood, yung LDL na yan will enter the intima. Remember, ang nasira dito, okay, ang nasira dito is the endothelial cells. Nasira siya ng dahil sa pressure. Pag nasira yung endothelial cells natin na yan, okay, pag nasira yan, ang tendency, class, okay, may portal of entry na tayo. Kaya ang mangyayari, kapag masyadong mataas ang cholesterol, yung cholesterol na yan, okay, pag dumaan yan sa injured side, pwede yang pumasok dito. At kapag pumasok yan, magkakaroon ng accumulation ng fat dito sa may tunica intima natin. Okay? So ngayon, pag pumasok ang fat dun sa tunica intima natin, remember, okay, normal ba na magkaroon ng fat dun sa layer natin na tunica intima? Definitely no. Hindi normal na magkaroon ng fat doon sa may tunica intima natin. Kaya ang gagawin ng ating katawan, kailangan niyang tanggalin yun. Kailangan niyang tanggalin yung fats na sumiksik doon sa tunica intima. Paano niya matatanggal? By initiating inflammatory response. Magkakaroon ng inflammatory response. Ngayon, yung inflammatory response na yan, anong ginagawa niya sa ating katawan? Yung inflammatory response na yan will release. Okay, pag nagkaroon ng inflammatory response, magre-release yan ng fighting cells, your WBC, specifically macrophage. Okay, magre-release ang katawan natin ng maraming macrophage. Itong macrophage na yan, class, okay, yung macrophage na yan, ang pinaka-function niya, sila ay phagocytic cell. Ibig sabihin sila ay cell-eating. kumakain sila. Okay, ngayon kapag once na yung macrophage, okay, pinalabas niya ng ating katawan, pupunta yan sila dito sa may injured site. Okay, for example, this green color is the macrophage. Okay, macrophage. Pupunta yan sila sa may injured site. At kapag once na pumunta, okay, pumunta ang mga macrophage, ayan, nagkaroon ng macrophage migrate to tunica intima. Pumunta sila sa tunica intima, sa may injured site. Okay, ngayon, pag once na nandoon sila sa tunica intima, anong gagawin nila sa fat? Kakainin nila. They will engulf fats. Okay, kapag once na in-engulf nila yung fats, usually ang ating mga macrophage, kapag once na may kinain sila yung microorganism or foreign bodies, mamamatay na lang sila yan. Ang problem natin, kapag once na yan ay macrophage, pag kinain niya yung fats, mamamatay sila and will convert them into foam cells. Okay, magiging foam cells sila. And bakit sila tinawag ng foam cells? Kasi nga, yung characteristic nila ay parang foam, yung hinihigaan. Ganun ang characteristic nila. Okay, magiging foam cells sila. Okay, this foam cell class, magkakaroon ng tinatawag na clustering. Ibig sabihin, magsasama-sama yung mga foam cells. At kapag once na nagsama-sama yung foam cells together, then dyan na magkakaroon ng plaque build up. Okay, magkakaroon na tayo ng plaque build up. Kasi nga, nag-clustering na yung ating mga foam cells. Okay, nagkaroon na ng plaque build up. This plaque build up, dyan na yung sasabihin natin na sakit na atherosclerosis. May fat deposition. Okay, so gaya nga ng arteriosclerosis, your athero is asymptomatic ulit. Okay, asymptomatic din siya. So, magkakaroon lang siya ng manifestation kapag naging angina pectoris na. Which is yun yung sunod-sunod. Okay, from coronary artery, from arterio to athero, and then magiging angina. Naging angina, magiging MI. Magiging MI, magiging congestive heart failure. Okay, ganun yung progression ng sakit. Okay, so na-proceed tayo kay angina pectoris. Si angina pectoris natin is a chest pain. Okay, chest pain or discomfort that occurs when heart muscle that does not get enough oxygen-rich blood due to temporary ischemia. Ito na ngayon si ischemia. Pag sinabi nating ischemia, decreased oxygen supply. Okay, nagdi-decrease yung oxygen supply. Okay, so ngayon, proceed tayo. Bakit ba nagkakaroon ng angina pectoris? Balikan natin si atherosclerosis and your arteriosclerosis. Diba sabi natin pag athero, si athero may plaque deposition. Okay, ano nangyayari? Nagiging masikip yung ating blood vessels. Okay, sumisikip yung lumen ng artery natin. At pag sumikip, okay, sisikip daw yung lumen ng artery. Pag sumikip ang lumen ng artery, magdi-decrease yung blood flow. Okay, pag nag-decrease yung blood flow, magdi-decrease din yung oxygen supply. Pag nag-decrease yung oxygen supply, yan na yung tatawagin nating ischemia. Okay? Pag once na nagkaroon ng ischemia class, gaya nga ng sabi natin, ang cells natin kailangan ng oxygen supply for them to function properly. Kasi kapag may oxygen sila, nakakapag-produce sila ng ATP. Okay? Meron tayong tinatawag na cellular metabolism. Okay, si cellular metabolism, okay, yan si cell natin. Si cell natin, kailangan niya ng oxygen. For example, ito si oxygen, okay? Yan si oxygen. Si cell natin, kailangan niya ng oxygen. Okay, pag once na nagkaroon ng interaction si oxygen sa cell natin, that's the time na magkakaroon ng cellular metabolism. Yung cellular metabolism natin, meron siyang tatlong byproduct. Una, we have the heat. Pangalawa is the water, and pangatlo is the energy or the ATP. Ibig sabihin, pag may interaction ang oxygen dito sa cell natin, nakakapag-produce siya ng ATP. Itong ATP na yan, okay, siya ngayon yung magiging energy ng ating cell. So kapag may energy siya, magagawa niya yung function niya properly. immediately. But in the case of your angina pectoris class, decrease ang oxygen supply. Ibig sabihin, decrease din yung ATP na na-produce. I remember sabi natin kanina na dapat na maintain si homeostasis. Okay, kailangan ma-maintain si homeostasis, kailangan magkaroon ng compensation. Kaya ang gagawin ng ating katawan, mag-a-adjust siya. Okay, dahil kulang na ako ng oxygen supply, okay, hindi na lang ako magagamit, okay, para ma-conserve yung energy. Ganun yung gagawin ng ating katawan. Hindi na lang ako gagamit kasi kulang naman ako ng oxygen. Kaya ang gagawin ng katawan mo, magkakaroon siya ng shifting from aerobic to anaerobic. Kapag ang cell, okay, nangangailangan ng hangin, ng oxygen para makapag-produce siya ng ATP, that's aerobic respiration. Pero kapag hindi siya nangailangan ng hangin para gumawa ng energy, that is anaerobic respiration. Okay, bali ito kanina, that's aerobic. Bakit kailangan niya ng oxygen? Ngayon, dahil ang heart natin, nag-adjust siya, hindi na lang ako gagamit ng oxygen. Okay, para ma-conserve yung energy. So, ang heart natin magkakaroon ng shifting from aerobic to anaerobic. Ang problem natin, class, pag anaerobic yan, meron siyang additional byproduct. Ano yung isang byproduct niya? Your lactic acid. Okay? So, merong byproduct na lactic acid. This lactic acid, siya na yung dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng chest pain. Remember, acid siya. Acid in nature. Ibig sabihin, pag dumadami ang acid, nagkakaroon ng irritation doon sa lining ng ating heart. At kapag nagkaroon ng irritation, dyan magkakaroon ng chest pain. At pag nagkaroon ng chest pain, meron na tayong angina pectoris. Okay, si angina pectoris natin, ano yung characteristic ng pain niya? That is substernal, crushing, squeezing, radiating to neck, jaw, back, and left arms. Yan yung characteristic ng chest pain na meron ang angina. Okay, so ngayon, we have the management. Okay, may management tayo. Una, management natin, rest. Okay, bakit kailangan natin ng rest? Para mag-decrease yung oxygen demand. Okay, para mag-decrease yung oxygen demand na tinatawag natin. Bakit magdi-decrease yung oxygen demand natin? Class, every time na gumagalaw tayo, okay, ang ating heart, okay, for example, every time na gumagalaw tayo, ang ating, ang ating cells ay nangangailangan ng oxygen. Every time na may movement, okay, nangangailangan ang cells natin ng oxygen. Bakit? Para may ATP. Kasi hindi makakagalaw ang cells natin kung walang ATP. Kaya ngayon, kailangan ng rest. Bakit? Kasi kapag nag-rest ka, may paggalaw ba na mangyayari? Wala. Kung walang paggalaw na mangyayari, kakailanganin ba ng cells natin ng oxygen? Hindi. So therefore, magdi-decrease yung oxygen demand. So kapag nag-decrease yung demand ng oxygen, dadami ngayon ang oxygen supply natin sa blood natin at mas marami or mas enough ngayon yung supply ng oxygen na pupunta sa ating heart. So kung enough yung supply ng oxygen na pupunta sa ating heart, kailangan niya pa bang ma-convert to aerobic to anaerobic? Hindi na. Hindi na magkakaroon ng conversion from aerobic to anaerobic. Therefore, may lactic acid production ba? Wala. So kung walang lactic acid, may chest pain. Walang chest pain. Kaya kailangan rest si patient, bed rest, avoid or limit activities. Then next natin your drug therapy. Okay, so drug therapy natin, class, meron tayong your drug of choice. Okay, yung drug of choice natin, we have the nitrates. Okay, we have the nitrates. Okay, drug of choice natin, nitrates. Or yung most common dito is the nitroglycerin. Okay, yung nitroglycerin is the most common nitrates. Okay, ano ba ang function ni nitroglycerin? Vasodilation. Okay, bakit siya binibigay? Balik tayo dun sa patophy. Again, nagkaroon ng lumen. Nagkaroon ng narrowing ng lumen. Pag nagbigay ka ng nitroglycerin, ano mangyayari dun sa lumen? Luluwag siya. So kung luluwag siya, magdi-decrease ba ang blood flow? Definitely, mag-i-increase. Pag nag-increase yung blood flow, mag-i-increase ba yung oxygen supply? Yes, mag-i-increase yung oxygen supply. Kung mag-i-increase ang oxygen supply, may ischemia ba? Wala. So kung walang ischemia, may shifting ba from aerobic to anaerobic? Wala. Okay, walang shifting. So, walang anaerobic respiration. Kung walang anaerobic respiration, may lactic acid production? Wala. So, kung walang lactic acid, may chest pain ba? Walang chest pain. Walang angina. Okay, kaya binibigay natin si nitrate or your nitroglycerin. Okay, so meron tayong mga different route of administration ng ating nitroglycerin. Okay, may mga different route tayo. Okay, una natin, wait lang. Ito na lang. Okay, yung first natin, through sublingual. Okay, sublingual natin. Pag sublingual yan, kailangan merong stinging, burning sensation. Stinging and burning sensation. Okay, kapag once na nag-complain ang pasyente mo ng may stinging and burning sensation, it means that's normal. That's expected. Okay, ibig sabihin potent yung gamot. Kung walang stinging and burning sensation, okay, pag walang stinging and burning sensation, you need to remove the medication and administer new one. Okay, discard the medication and magbibigay ka ng bago. Bakit? Kasi walang stinging and burning. Kung walang stinging and burning, ibig sabihin hindi potent yung medication. Kung hindi potent siya, bakit kaya? Possible expired yung medication. Okay? Kaya kailangan mong tapon yung iniinom niya at kumuha ka ng panibagong gamot. Kasi may possibility na expired na yung medication. Okay? Then take the tablet. Okay. We take the tablet maximum of. Okay. Take the tablet maximum of 3 doses. Okay? With 5 minutes interval. Okay, with 5 minutes interval, ibig sabihin hanggang 3 beses ka lang daw pwedeng uminom ng nitroglycerin with 5 minutes interval. Paano ba siya ginagawa? For example, una, okay, yung patient mo, diagnosed ng angina pectoris, anong gagawin niya? Sabi niya sa'yo may chest pain siya. Ngayon, merong order, nitroglycerin. Magbibigay ka ngayon ng isa. Pagbigay mo ng isa, babalik ka after 5 minutes, i-check mo ulit, tatanong mo siya, ma'am, may chest pain ba? Okay? Nagbigay ka ng isa, may chest pain ba? Sabi niya sa'yo, meron. Okay? So, ngayon, magbibigay ka ulit ng isa, 2 dose ka na. Babalik ka ulit after 5 minutes. Pag-check mo after 5 minutes, may chest pain pa rin. Pwede pa rin ba magbigay ng nitroglycerin? Yes. Magbibigay ka ng isa. Pagbigay mo ng isa, balik ka ulit after 5 minutes. Ngayon, may chest pain pa rin. Magbibigay pa rin ba tayo ng isa? No na. Bakit? Maximum of 3 doses. So, kung hindi na tayo magbibigay, anong gagawin natin? Sabihan mo si patient na pumunta agad sa nearest hospital kung siya ay nasa bahay. Pero kapag siya ay nasa hospital, you need to notify the physician immediately. Bakit? That's not angina pectoris anymore. That's already myocardial infarction. Okay? So, kailangan maximum of 3 doses lang. Then, next natin, we need to store it. Okay? Stored in dark or brown container. Okay? Bakit kailangan i-stored? Because photosensitive siya. Okay? Photosensitive yung ating nitroglycerin. Naglo-loss yung potency niya, okay? Naglo-loss yung potency niya kapag siya ay nabibilaran sa araw or sa ilaw. Kaya kailangan i-stored in a dark or brown container. Kung wala kang dark or brown container, pwede mo siyang balutan ng foil. Okay? So, yan. Next naman natin, usually class, ang nitroglycerin natin lost, okay? Lost potency after 6 months. Okay, for example, yung nandun sa bottle, ang expiration date niya is 2030. 2030. Ngayon, ginamit mo si nitroglycerin this year ng February. So it means kapag once na na-open mo si nitroglycerin, hindi na 2030 ang kanyang expiration. Ano na, 6 months na lang ang lifespan niya. So kung February mo siya inopen, March, April, May, June, July, August, hanggang August na lang pwede inumin yung nitroglycerin. So it means kung September nagkaroon ka ng angina at kailanganin mo ng nitroglycerin, hindi mo na pwedeng gamitin yung binili mo nung February kasi expired na siya. Kasi nawawala yung potency niya, nagiging 6 months na lang ang lifespan niya once na na-open siya. Okay? Next natin, we have the patch. Plus, kapag sublingual yan sa ilalim ng dila, yan nilalagay. So, dapat magko-complain ng pasyente mo, may na stinging and burning sensation. So, dapat nasa ilalim lang ng dila, hindi niya pwedeng sabayan ng tubig, hindi niya pwedeng nguyain, hindi niya pwedeng lunukin. Dapat nasa ilalim lang ng dila. Bakit? Kasi kapag nasa ilalim yan ng dila, class, okay, may mga maliliit tayo na small or na mga blood vessels sa dila. Okay, siya ngayon yung mag-a-absorb papunta sa system. Okay, papunta sa system or sa systemic circulation natin. Okay? So, kaya dun sa ilalim na dila, mas mabilis, okay, ang absorption. Unlike kapag yan ay orally mo, pupunta yan sa stomach, pupunta yan sa intestine, okay? Tapos magkakaroon yan ng breakdown sa liver, chuchunes, pupunta sa liver, and then babalik yan, okay, hanggang pumunta ng blood. Ang dami pa niya pang process. Unlike kapag yan ay nasa ilalim ng dila, mabilis na lang ang absorption. Then next natin, we have the patch. Kapag IV, okay, pag IV, yung medication, okay, lagi dapat gumamit ng infusion pump. Okay, gamit ng infusion pump para accurate yung dose. Okay, para accurate yung dose na pumapasok. Kasi pwedeng mag-hypotension ang pasyente pag na-over sa nitroglycerin. Kaya kailangan infusion pump. Next, kapag patch naman. Kapag patch naman, apply on non-hairy area. Okay, apply on non-hairy area. Okay, usually, i-apply natin yan proximal to chest. Ibig sabihin, malapit lang daw sa chest. Usually, upper chest or dun sa malapit sa armpit. Okay, malapit sa may kilikili natin. Okay, so, proximal to chest, okay, upper chest. Then, next natin, second one, rotate the site. Okay, rotate the site. Kung naglagay ka dun sa upper chest, dapat dun ka naman na sa may armpit. Okay, malapit sa armpit. Kung naglagay ka sa armpit, dun ka naman na sa chest, dapat niro-rotate siya. Bakit? To prevent skin irritation. Then next, remove old. Okay. 3, remove old. Okay. Remove old before applying new one. Okay, remove old before applying new one. Ibig sabihin yan, tanggalin mo daw muna yung luma bago ka maglagay ng bago. Okay, bakit? To prevent overdose. Para ma-prevent natin yung overdose. Kasi kapag once na nilagay mo na yung bago at meron pa rin yung luma, dalawang medication ang ina-absorb niya. Okay, dalawang medication that can lead to overdose. Unlike kapag tinanggal mo yung luma at nilagay mo yung bago, yung isang patch lang yung i-absorb niya. Kasi natanggal mo na si luma. Okay, to prevent overdose. That's your, what they call this one, your nitroglycerin. Next naman natin, okay, we have your beta blockers. Your beta blockers ends with olol. Okay, si olol natin, meron tayong dalawang types, your cardioselective and your non-cardioselective. Okay, your cardioselective, may mnemonic tayo dyan na MABE. Your metoprolol, your atenolol, bisoprolol, and your esmolol. Pag non-cardioselective, your TPN, timolol, propanolol, and nadolol. Ano bang action nila to? Okay, balikan natin yung anatomy natin. Sa ating puso, meron tayong B1 and okay, may dalawang types tayo. Okay, sorry. May dalawang beta receptor site tayo. Okay, may dalawang beta receptor site tayo. Ano yung dalawang beta receptor site natin? Your B1 and your B2. Si B1 natin, makikita natin yan sa lungs sa heart. Okay, makikita natin yan sila sa heart. Bakit? Bakit sa heart? Always remember, B1, isa lang puso mo. Okay, ang B2 makikita natin sa lungs. Bakit? Dalawa ang lungs mo. Okay, si B1 and B2. Anong action ni B1 and B2 natin? Okay, pag B1 natin, class, okay, nagkakaroon ng inotropic. Okay. So, ang action niyan, nagkakaroon ng positive lahat. Positive, positive. Positive inotropic. Positive chronotropic. And positive dromotropic. Okay, inotropic, chronotropic, and your dromotropic. Yan ang action niya. Pag once na nai-stimulate or nagkakaroon ng activation ng B1 natin, negative positive inotropic, positive chronotropic, and positive dromotropic. Pag inotropic class, yan ay may kinalaman sa contractility. Pag chronotropic, yan ay heart rate. Pag dromotropic, that's conduction. Conduction. Okay, it's conduction. Okay, pag positive, increased lahat. So, ibig sabihin, nag-increase ang contractility, nag-increase ang heart rate, at nag-increase ang conduction. Kapag once naman na lungs yan, class B2, ang kanyang effect lang ay bronchodilation. Okay? Pero, sabi niya, beta blockers. So, ibig sabihin, binablock natin si beta 1 and beta 2. Okay, binablock natin si beta 1 and your beta 2. Meron tayong dalawang types, your cardio-selective and your cardio or your non-cardio-selective. And your non-cardio. Okay, anong pinagkaiba nila? Pag sinabi natin cardio-selective clocks, blocks beta 1. Beta 1 lang ang kanyang binablock. Pag non-cardio-selective, blocks beta 1 and beta 2. So, ibig sabihin, yung dalawang beta block or beta receptor ang kanyang binablock. Balik tayo dun sa gamot. Okay? Balik tayo dun sa gamot. Pag nagbigay tayo ng beta blockers, katulad na lang ng cardio-selective, ibig sabihin, yung beta 1 lang ang kanyang binablock. So, ibig sabihin, pag blinak niya, negative lahat. Negative inotropic, negative chronotropic, and negative domotropic. So, lahat yan, bababa ang contractility, bababa ang heart rate, bababa ang conduction. So, ngayon, yun ang ginagawa ng ating beta blockers. Bakit? Para mag-decrease yung workload ng puso natin. Diba sabi natin kapag tumitibok, pag may paggalaw, gumagamit ng oxygen. Ay kulang na nga tayo ng oxygen. Kaya kailangan ma-conserve. Anong gagawin ng ating beta blockers? Papahinain niya yung pagtibok ng puso. Kasi pag mahina yung pagtibok ng puso, ano mangyayari? Magkokonti lang din yung oxygen na, tawag na nito, kokonti lang din yung oxygen na kakailanganin ng ating heart. So kapag konti lang yung oxygen na kakailanganin ng ating heart, makoconserve yung ating oxygen. So instead na gamitin siya ng ibang cells natin, gagamitin na lang siya ng ating puso. So, magdi-decrease yung O2 demand. Okay, magdi-decrease yung O2 demand. Pag once naman na non-cardio-selective, blocks beta 1 and beta 2. So, ngayon, pag beta 2 ang blinak niya naman, magkakaroon ng bronchoconstriction. Okay, so ibig sabihin, kapag once na mag-administer tayo ng non-cardio-selective medication, okay, your timolol, propanolol, and nadolol, kailangan cautious tayo, okay, cautious tayo in giving to patient with respiratory problem. Okay, for example, may asthma yung pasyente mo. Okay, may asthma siya, may COPD siya, contraindicated. Ito, okay, contraindicated siya sa mga patient. Okay, your non-cardioselective, okay, non-cardioselective class, contraindicated sa patient na may asthma and COPD or respiratory problems. Okay? Contraindicated yan. Bawal ibigay ang mga non-cardioselective sa patient na may asthma, COPD or respiratory problem. Bakit? Kasi nga, kapag may asthma or COPD class or respiratory problem, sumisikip na yung daluyan ng hangin. Okay? Sumisikip na yung daluyan ng hangin. So ngayon, nagbigay ka pa ng non-cardioselective, bronchoconstriction ang effect niya. Mas lalo lang sisikip yung daluyan ng hangin. Baka pwede pang mag-lead yan sa respiratory arrest. Okay, kaya contraindicated ang non-cardioselective for patient with asthma, COPD, or other respiratory problem. Next, calcium channel blockers. Okay, ends with pin. Okay, ends with pin. Lodipine, okay, yan yung mga ganyan, yung mga example natin. Okay, calcium channel blockers. Same lang din naman sila. Okay, same lang din sila ng effect. Okay, next natin your antiplatelets and your anticoagulants. Okay, your antiplatelets and anticoagulants, pag once na platelet yan, antiplatelet or anticoagulant, prevent clots. Okay, remember, pag yan ay angina pectoris, wala pa yung embolism, wala pa yung clot formation. Okay, so kaya kailangan natin ma-prevent by giving antiplatelet. Unlike kapag MI, meron na siyang thromboembolism. Okay, may clot formation na, pero pag angina, wala pa. Kaya kailangan nating i-prevent yan para hindi mag-lead sa MI. So, ano yung mga example natin? Your aspirin, your clopidogrel, your ticlopidine, heparin, and your warfarin. Usually, class, kapag aspirin yan, ang safest dose natin is 160 mg to 325 mg per day. Okay, so yan ang binibigay natin, 160 to 325. Usually, class, kapag nagkakaroon ng toxicity ng aspirin, okay, ang common signs na yan is usually aspirin is autotoxic. Okay, kaya aspirin, rin. Okay, ringing of the ear, tinnitus, ring. Okay, so parang nagkakaroon ng ring, aspirin, ring. Okay, ringing of the ear, tinnitus. Yan ay effect or autotoxic effect or effect ni aspirin. Okay, pag nagkaroon ng overdose. Okay, 160 mg to 325. Clopidogrel, ticlopidine, heparin, and warfarin. Pag once na heparin yan, class, okay, this is given via IV route. This is given via oral route. Pag IV, pag heparin yan, class, kailangan nating i-check si PTT. Okay, PTT. Pag once naman na warfarin, ang check lang natin is the PT. Okay, the PT. It's the PT. Okay, check natin yung PT. Si PT natin, class, usually ang normal PTT natin is 20 to 39 seconds. 20 to 39. Okay, 20 to 39 seconds. Yan ang normal natin. Pag PT naman yan, usually ang normal niya yan is 9.5 to 12 seconds. Okay, 9.5 to 12 seconds. Okay, that's your PTT and your PT. Okay, kapag nagkaroon ng toxic effect, okay, may antidote tayo. Pag heparin, that is protamine sulfate. Okay, antidote to sulfate. At kapag once naman na warfarin, it's vitamin K. Antidote in case of warfarin toxicity. Okay, vitamin K and your protamine sulfate. Next, we administer anti-lipids, ends with estatin. Example natin dyan, your simvastatin and your atorvastatin. Your estatin, class, it decreases the cholesterol. Okay, action niya, decrease cholesterol. Okay, pag nagdi-decrease ang cholesterol, pag nagbibigay tayo ng anti-lipid class, we need to check, okay, check liver function. Okay, we need to check the liver function pag nagbibigay tayo ng statin. Bakit? Ang ating statin or anti-lipids ay hepatotoxic. Okay, hepatotoxic sila. The next, we administer oxygen. Okay, usually 2 liters per minute. Safest dose pag RN na magbibigay. And lifestyle modification, okay, yung diet ni patient mo, low salt, low fat diet. Avoid stress. Okay, so yan yung mga kailangan management natin for patient with angina. Okay, next naman natin, we have your surgical management. Okay, sorry, may signs and symptoms pa pala tayo. Yung signs and symptoms ng ating angina, we have the pain hearts, pallor, profuse sweating. Pag pallor, profuse sweating class, remember pallor, decrease ang blood supply. Okay, decrease ang blood flow. Okay, kaya nagkakaroon ng pallor. Profuse sweating naman class because of SNS activation, your sympathetic nervous system. Anxiety, this is the sense of impending doom. Okay, takot siya mamatay. Next, nagkakaroon din ng indigestion. Usually, nagkakaroon ng indigestion because of what we call this one, yung referred pain na tinatawag natin. Nakala natin yung sakit ay nandoon sa kanyang stomach, pero yung pain talaga ay nandoon naman talaga sa kanyang what we call this one, nandun naman talaga sa kanyang heart. Remember, si LES natin, malapit yan sa puso. Kaya nagkakaroon, kapag indigestion, usually may epigastric pain yan. Okay, may epigastric pain. Okay, so next, nausea and vomiting because of the vagal stimulation. Okay, next, heaviness in chest. Okay, parang may nakadagan or may nakapatong daw sa chest niya pag yan ay angina. Exertional dyspnea because of left ventricular dysfunction. Kasi nga, kulang ng oxygen supply sa heart. Exertional dyspnea class, yan yung nahirapan daw siyang huminga every time na may physical activity. Arrhythmias and palpitation. Okay, arrhythmias and palpitation because of SNS activation. Radiating pain, may tachycardia, that's compensation. Okay, kulang ng oxygen supply, kulang ng blood supply, gagawin ng ating heart, bibilisan niya ang pagtibok. Syncope and dizziness, bakit? Nag-decrease ang cardiac output, kaya magdi-decrease din ang cerebral perfusion. Okay, the next we have the surgical management. Surgical management natin, we have the percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty or the PTCA. Okay, si PTCA natin, okay, the catheter is inserted through femoral or radial artery. So, ito siya. The contrast dye injected to visualize the stenosis. Ngayon, class, may catheter daw muna na ipapasok. Pag once na pinasok na yung catheter, okay, pag pinasok na yung catheter, may contrast dye na ilalagay. Yung contrast dye na yan, makikita mo kung saang portion ang may narrowing. Pag once na nakita na may narrowing na, okay, may narrowing na, ipapasok na ngayon yung balloon. Okay, ipapasok na ngayon yung balloon. Pag once na nakita yung site, okay, dadalihin doon kung saan yung may narrowing, doon ilalagay yung balloon. Ito ngayon. For example, yan yung narrowing. Diyan ngayon ilalagay or ipi-place yung balloon. Kapag once na in place na ngayon yung catheter, okay, i-inflate si balloon. Okay, i-inflate si balloon. Pag once na nagkaroon na ng inflation, okay, ilalagay naman na yung stent. Okay, pag once na nailagay yung stent, ganito na yung mangyayari sa kanya. Kaya kung pansinin nyo, naipit, okay, naipit yung taba, na-flatten yung taba. Kapag na-flatten yung taba, mag-i-increase yung ating circulation or yung blood flow. Okay, so ganyan si ating percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty. Okay, ano yung mga nursing management natin? May mnemonic tayo na pulse. P, una, P, pulse. Assess distal pulse. Kailangan yung malayo. Kung femoral ka, okay, kung femoral ka, kailangan yan ay sa dorsalis pedis, sa paa ka dapat mag-check ng pulse. Kapag radial naman yan, punta ka sa brachial, yung malayo. Okay, bakit? Kasi nga, pag yan ay PTCA, usually common dyan yung mga thrombophlebitis or embolism. Okay, nagdi-decrease, okay, nagkakaroon ng occlusion. Okay, so may possibility na i-assess mo kasi pag walang pulse, ibig sabihin may occlusion. Okay, then compare both sides to check the perfusion. Check mo, okay, yung color, baka naiiba na. Baka yung isa pale na. Isa yan sa mga manifestation na nagde-decrease yung blood supply. And then diminish or absent pulse. Okay, may possibility daw na mag-diminish or absent yung pulse. Ito ay indication ng occlusion or embolism. Then urine output, monitor for renal perfusion, usually 30 ml per hour. Sorry, pag nag-decrease 30 ml per hour yan, ibig sabihin may renal compromise. Okay, baka nagkaroon na ng renal damage. Okay, bakit nagkaroon ng renal damage? Because the dye. Okay, si dye natin is nephrotoxic. Okay, kaya kailangan i-monitor natin yung renal function before and after administration ng dye. The next, your limb. Limbian. Okay, limb, keep the affected limb straight and immobilized for at least 4 to 6 hours. Check numbness, tingling sensation, and coldness. Okay, this is an indication na may embolism or occlusion. Then yung site, we need to inspect the puncture site for bleeding, swelling, and hematoma. Palpate for bruit and tenderness, and apply pressure dressing or sandbag. And then last, we need to educate the patient to report chest pain, avoiding flexing affected leg, arm, heavy lifting, or straining. Okay, that's the surgical management. And next natin, we have the COBG or your coronary artery bypass graft. Anong ginagawa dito? Creates new route for the blood to flow around the narrow artery. Healthy blood vessel is taken from saphenous vein, internal mammary, and the radial artery. The most common, okay, site na pinagkukuhanan natin is the saphenous vein. Okay, si saphenous vein ang most common natin. Si saphenous vein sa paayan. Okay, sa paayan, paano ba ginagawa si COBG? Ayan si COBG. Okay, yan si COBG. May narrowing. Kung papansinin nyo, itong block na to class, okay, that's the narrowing. Walang blood na dumadaan. Kaya anong gagawin? Gagawa ng panibagong daanan or pathway. Okay, gagawa ng panibagong daanan or pathway. Kaya kung papansinin mo, magkakaroon na ng blood supply dito sa area ng heart natin. Okay, unlike dito, nawalan ng supply, kaya gumawa tayo ng panibagong daan. That's your COBG. Ano ang mnemonic na management natin? Chest. Kung kanina pulse, ngayon chest. Letter C, chest tube and cardiac monitoring. Monitor the chest tube drainage. Increased drainage, ibig sabihin may hemorrhage, may bleeding. Pag decrease ang drainage naman natin, ibig sabihin meron tayong meron tayong yung tinatawag natin na what we call this one, occlusion or blockage. Okay, it's cardiac tamponade. Okay, possible na may cardiac tamponade. Ibig sabihin ng cardiac tamponade, hindi na de-drain yung fluid or yung drainage doon sa may chest tube, kaya nangyayari nagkakaroon ng accumulation sa heart. Okay, nagkakaroon ng accumulation which result to fluid accumulation in the heart. That is your cardiac tamponade. Then we need to letter H, hemodynamics. Monitor for blood pressure. Avoid extreme hypotension or hypertension. Bakit? Kapag nagkaroon ng hypotension, decrease, okay, graft perfusion. Ibig sabihin, magdi-decrease daw yung blood supply dito sa ating graft. Okay, magdi-decrease. Kapag once naman na hypertension, that can result to a graft ruptures. Pwedeng pumutok, okay, or masira yung graft na nilagay natin. Then next, we need to check electrolytes. Monitor the potassium and magnesium. Usually, ang potassium natin, normal dyan is 3.5 to 5 mEq per liter. Okay? mEq per liter. That is the normal. Pag magnesium naman, that is 1.3 to to 2 mEq per liter. Okay, it's normal. Magnesium and potassium. Wound care and infection prevention. Monitor the incision for infection, redness, and drainage. Avoid pushing, pulling, and lifting heavy objects. And teach lifestyle modification. Okay, diet, exercise, smoking, and med adherence. Okay, med adherence. Okay, so yun yung gagawin natin. Kailangan stop smoking cessation, exercise siya, and diet niya is low fat, low salt, low cholesterol. Okay, so yan yung tinatawag nating angina pectoris.